Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I'm joined once again by Val.
Hello again.
Today we're going to be casting Tarsh versus Włochaty in round 3 of the 5th Asia Pacific tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Colleville, and on the Allied side the 7th Armoured, and on the Axis side the 17th SS-Panzergrenadiers under command of Włochaty. So, what do you think we'll see in this one, Val?
I mean, we'll see a lot of Stugs, I think that's fair to say, because that's basically all that Włochaty's got for tanks. I think he's got one card of Panzer IVs in B, maybe, something like that, but he's got all the Stugs. See a lot of very high quality infantry as well, coming out from the 17th. And also, don't forget, I think, it might have, let's see if these are actually those. Can't see, but you can also get some A-phase Nebelwerfers, which are really nice. On the side of Tarsh, however, 7th Armoured deck I'm really a big fan of. Has a lot of these kind of options to bring infantry in armoured transports, the motor rifles. What he's also got is the 2-star Stuart Recons in A-phase, which are very nice, and 2 of the Cromwells. You get the Cromwell 5 and the Abbot of Chantry, which is the really, really fast one.
Yeah.
But I think it is a bit of a risk for him because it doesn't really match up too well against the 2-star Stug until B phase, I feel.
I think it's going to be interesting to see where Tarsh goes with this, because I feel like in this matchup the 7th Armoured should get quite aggressive early on. They have a lot of stag hounds at their disposal. They have the Stuart Remies and the Stuart Reckies that can absolutely rip to shreds infantry very easily and pin down AT guns quickly as well. And that's something that Tarsh could definitely take advantage of. Whereas on the side of Włochaty, I think he's going to be relying a lot on maybe AT ambushes with like Panzerschrecks, maybe like some Pak 38s in there as well. But I definitely want to see the Phase A Stug come out as well, because that is the 2-star Stug that can be made 3-star. Would be very, very difficult for Tarsh to deal with unless he sort of invests into the Cromwell 5 or maybe even the M3 guns you can get in the, like on the carriers, the autocar M3s. Those things can maybe deal with the Stug, but the Stug's still going to be really hard to deal with. So I guess the only other way you could think about it is maybe an air force of some sort, or some sort of artillery might come out to play. But let's have a look at what's actually down. Over on the side of Włochaty, he does have currently Stosstroop, a couple of Panzerschrecks in there, well, 4 Stosstroop on that topside road with command following, 2 IG-18s behind that, Panzerschreck, 2 more Stosstroop, so loads of Stosstroop for that top side. That's absolutely incredible. On this bottom side, it's going to be 2 Panzerschrecks, the command infantry, another Stosstroop, the Pak 38, and the Panzergrenadiers as well there with that command infantry. That is just an incredible infantry start there from Włochaty. I feel like he knows something we don't, because that is a considerable amount of infantry AT, more than I've probably ever seen from a start of any player. Over on the side of Tarsh, he's relying on motorised rifles, double Staghound start at the top side with the Stuart Remy and the command infantry. For the mid, it's going to be 1 Staghound and the 2 M5 half-tracks there with more motorised rifles, and 1 for the bottom side. Now, one thing that could happen, I think, for Włochaty is he doesn't have much that can engage at range. So the fire support that the Stuart Remies and Reckies can provide, and the Staghounds as well, could come in very handy if he starts by running forwards with his infantry.
I feel like not bringing any armour at all is kind of a bit of a mistake for Włochaty here. And on this top side, does he? I don't think he's got any AT guns deployed up here, does he? He's just got the AT infantry. I'm not a big fan of this, really. It's
really risky.
Very tough for him to deal. Well, not just that, but he's dealing with all the M5 half tracks, the Stuart Remies, like you said, the Staghounds. You know, anything that's over that 150 meter range, or I guess 250 with the Panzerschrecks, it's going to be such a nightmare to push into.
Yeah, fortunately Stosstroop do have smoke to keep themselves covered, but as we can see, that Stosstroop on the top side just got annihilated in a couple of seconds. On the bottom side, there was a favourable engagement in favour of Włochaty. He found the kill with the Panzerschreck onto the half track, and now has managed to force motorized rifles back, but the Staghound going to be coming in there to fill the gaps. IG-18 is trying to make some ground here, but the IG-18 can be able to hold that back. Staghound is going to be trying to come up to support, but now the Panzerschreck's in range as well. Smoke coming down from the Panzergrenadiers. That's quite nice.
Quite nice, but I feel like Tarsh probably doesn't know the amount of pain he's walking into here. With this many Stoss troop in the squads, are really going to tear apart these rifles.
Look at this charge. Just dropped 3 smokes and just charging forwards towards these motorized rifles. And the motorized rifles are going to get torn apart by the Stoss troop. The motorized rifles, though, they're not completely useless at close range. And they do have 8 HE. But it's not going to be enough in this case. Since there's just so many Stoss troop squads, they're eventually going to clean up the motorized rifles, and the half track goes down there to a Panzerfaust, so does the Stuart, and this Staghound's being forced back by the IG-18 on the top side as well. We now see a AT gun coming in to that top side, and it could make things very difficult indeed.
I feel like this is a bit of a misplay here from Tarsh. He got stuff too close to the sun. And you've got to know there's going to be Stoss troop in there. You know, one of the first things I think of when I think of a matchup like this is don't forest fight. You know, until you get later on, you don't have the capability. You've got, you know, motorized rifles. They're not going to stand up to Stoss troop. Like I said, they're not bad. They've got decent HE for what they are, but you know, Stoss troop, kind of infantry killer basically.
Yeah, look at the amount of IG-18s that Włochaty's deployed down here. That Staghound was just taking shot after shot from those, and it's just been absolutely incredible. These Stoss troop, though, yeah, they're starting to spread out, which might make them a little bit easier to deal with, because the ones that are left in the orchard area are pretty low on health. The Staghounds
are good cancer.
Yeah, indeed. The Staghounds, they're going to try and get into position, but it's so hard to play around these Panzerschrecks at this range. He's literally living on a knife edge here, because he gets a little bit too close, Panzerschreck will punish him, no doubt. But yeah, like you mentioned, Desert Rats are coming in, and they might be able to help take on these Stoss troop.
I feel kind of a little bit disappointed that Tarsh hasn't got any of the Recon Stuarts. I think the 2-star Recon Stuarts are a great investment. Almost just like a replacement for one of these Staghounds, because it wouldn't be falling to this same Panzerschreck kill here, because you'd be able to see it, really. Yeah,
that Staghound going down is not very good. Into the mid, it's going to be another Stoss troop and a Panzergrenadier. They're going to be taking on the motorized rifles there. Stoss troop did get chewed up on the bottom side by the Stuart Recce and the Staghound. Motorized rifles in the mid, though, they're going to find themselves under fire from the IG-18 and the Panzergrens, which is not very good. But +1 here currently for Włochaty, and doing pretty well with a very unorthodox start. But I think it also comes down to Tarsh being a bit reckless with his motorized rifles, because otherwise, I think just in general the motorized rifles would have allowed him to keep the sort of units closer. But I think what happened down the bottom side here is the Pak-38 cleaned up one of the Staghounds as well. So both the Staghounds now dead on that top side. Spitfire does come in and bomb the Panzerschreck on the bottom side, which gives Tarsh a little bit of breathing room. He's going to be able to get the Recce in there as well to take out the Pak-38 as that gets spotted. Spitfire bomber once again gets the job done. The Staghound really needs to be rushing that, though. There's no reason to wait around.
I do feel like with a deck like the 7th, you get put in a very awkward spot if you lose a lot of your transports early. You should be kind of trying to preserve them as much as possible for fire support, and you know, all of the stuff on that top side, all those transports are just gone. I mean, as well as the Staghounds, don't forget those, but you know, not a very good position for Tarsh here on this top side, I have to say.
Włochaty's been trading really, really well, and these IG-18s have proved invaluable throughout this game so far. They're currently keeping these Desert Rats at bay, and they really shouldn't be sitting on the edge of that tree line unless they're going to use smoke to push directly onto all of those forces. Because those 3 units of Desert Rats are a really nice choice, right? But they just need to create that smoke wall, and just run down all of those units that Włochaty currently has there.
And they could do as well, like if he got across with those 3 squads of Desert Rats and the command infantry, I reckon he'd have been able to just kill off all of the stuff there if he'd have smoked properly. You know, another section of Desert Rats there getting hit by the IG-18. They're really kind of, I feel like Włochaty is microing very well, and Tarsh maybe not quite as well.
Yeah, we see the Stug 3 finally come into the mid here for Włochaty. On the bottom side, Tarsh has made a little bit of ground. He took out the Panzergrenadiers, but the Panzergrenadiers killed his recce, so he doesn't have line of sight on the Pak-38 anymore. And that could prove an issue if he wants to continue to be aggressive with this Staghound here. At close range, that Pak-38 is going to have a hell of a lot of accuracy. And might even just find the one-shot kill. It will indeed. Now the Stuart recce might have payback with its 50 cal, but nope. Second shot does the job as well. That was a pretty impressive second shot there from the Pak-38.
Yeah, I always find when I'm using it, like the enemy will just stun it instantly. So you know, Włochaty's got a bit of divine intervention on his side as well as good placement, which is more than you can ask for. On this top side, we see a lot of fighting going on. We see the Desert Rats are making a good showing of themselves, which is what we expect. Still maybe not quite where he wants them though.
Yeah, well, since they were all quite low on men, as they ran through the tree line there, a lot of them just got cut down in the face of the Desert Rats. Also, the IG-18s getting very aggressive, leaving them in range of the guns of those Desert Rats as well, was not ideal. The Pak-38 though, that did manage to take out another one of the Stuart sort of support vehicles, which is really not what you want to see. And now we also have a Ju-87 coming in. That looks to try and pop the M5 half-track there with the motorised rifle in it before they unload, which was a cheeky go. But ideally, I think he wants to take out this Stuart 5 recon that has been brought in now. But this Stug 3, look how aggressive that's getting, just pushing all the way up into the face of the Staghound. As long as he keeps his distance from these tree lines, he should be okay. But definitely, I'd like to see some recon come in to just, you know, make sure that Stug remains safe.
That's true, but one kind of really awkward quirk of the 7th Armoured is they only get like a truck for a phase AT, so he doesn't have to be quite as worried of a AT gun sitting in one of these tree lines. Doesn't have to worry about the Piats, or well, I mean we know how good Piats are, so maybe not worried that much, but still, you know, I think he's quite safe pushing it this far up if he's careful.
Yeah, 2 Autocar M3s are on the way though, and they're going to be looking to try and counter this Stug, I feel. If they all fire at the same time, the Autocars and the Staghound, they could quite easily overwhelm the Stug, even if maybe they took 1 kill in the process. They could probably return it. So that's something that I'm looking for moving forwards. Meanwhile, on this bottom side, Panzergrens are going to be moving up into the face of motorised rifles. Panzergrens will always win at range, so the motorised rifles are going to have to be careful there not to reveal themselves. Maybe putting them onto return fire might be the best idea for Tarsh. Panzerschreck also following up just for some future support. But one thing I'd like as well is just for Tarsh to try and take advantage of the failed push from Włochaty into his orchards, because he killed a lot of Staatstroop in a very short amount of time. And I think if you sort of keep track of that, you can definitely sort of look for an opportunity to counter push. But maybe there's just not enough smoke, I guess, to cover the advance against IG-18s. So that may be why Tarsh is put off doing so at this point.
I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen any of the 3-inch mortars come out. I don't know if he takes them. I personally take them in A phase. For situations like this, basically, where you're up against someone with a lot of infantry and you can use them, like you say, for smoke, or you can use them just to start, you know, launching shells onto the enemy. And we see as B phase comes in as well, we've got the flamethrowers and some more Staastruppen, I believe. We are going to see some more of the armour come in though from Tarsh.
Yeah, so he's got a Cromwell 4 on the way. He's brought in a 6-pounder as well that's going to be trying to creep into this tree line and take on the Stug 3. But that might get instantly countered by the Panzergrenadiers sitting on the other side. Panzergrenadiers on the bottom side are engaging with their MGs at max range, which is the engagement that Tarsh probably doesn't want. Spitfire Mark 9 is going to be coming in for the bombing strike. It looks like Tarsh is going to be making a move here onto the Stug 3. It starts fast moving his M3, autocar M3 into range, but that bomb really wasn't as effective as he would have liked. 6-pounder does come into the tree line though, finds the crew wounded. Autocar now taking shots, stag hounds come round as well, and will find the kill. Very, very nice job indeed.
That was very nice to get the bombing strike in. I feel like his poor 6-pounder might just pay for it with his life, I don't know, but very nice use of the Spitfire there. You know that I don't seem to see too much, to be honest, people take with 7th Armoured. But it is kind of all you've got at that A phase for bombing capability.
Yeah.
We've seen SPW-222 coming in as well, so that's very good against infantry, but maybe not quite as good against these Cromwells and Staghounds.
Yeah, IG-18 was trying to kill off that 6-pounder in the M5 half-track, but one trouble with the Panzergrenadiers of the 17th SS, I always say it, is they just don't have the Panzerfaust that other divisions often have. So in this case, the M5 half-track was quite easily able to deal with the Panzergrenadiers, and meanwhile the autocar just hit the IG at range. But we can see now that the Stuart 5 is in trouble, gets actually killed by the Pak 38 after previously suffering from the transmission damage. Meanwhile on the bottom side, Ju-87 kills off the Cromwell, and that is a nice couple kills there. That's an expensive Stuart to lose. They are 110 points apiece, and that Cromwell isn't cheap either. So Włochaty just keeping Tarsh in a really, really bad position, constantly trading well, whilst continuing to take just that little bit of ground that has now pushed him into a +2. So in a very, very good position. And the Panzerschreck finds a kill onto the autocar M3 on the bottom side as well. Devastating.
It is devastating. I feel like Włochaty has out-microed Tarsh so well. You know, I feel like in an ideal situation, Tarsh should have the upper hand, especially in A. You know, he's got all of these very good fire support transports and that sort of stuff. And in these sort of tree lines where you can stay off, you know, beyond that range. I'm going to stop now because we just see that poor JU go down to the Mosquito fighter. But going back to what I was saying, you know, you expect the 7th to do pretty well, really, against the 17th in this sort of map, in my opinion. And he's just traded really badly. He's got the newly coined Eugen effect, where he's been running his armoured vehicles into anti-tank infantry. And it's really, he's just suffering for it.
Yeah, the prevalence of AT infantry has definitely been like increasing recently. People always bringing Panzerschrecks at the starts of game now, and I feel like it's something that players should definitely be aware of at this point. And it's, I think, unfortunate to see a lot of vehicles go down in these sorts of engagements. Stuart 5 though taking advantage of the SPW-231 at close range, so that was a nice quick kill there. Sostrip are just going to be smoking themselves off. Stug 4 has come in on the bottom side to help push up. 232 going to be coming in to provide some veterancy, but yeah, Tarsh is just so far behind at this point. He's just, it's such like a unit deficit in general. Like, yeah, the infantry sort of side of things is not too far off, but in terms of like losing all of the armor that Tarsh has so far, it's just not good at all.
It's not good, and now he's going up against these Stug 4s, which are, you know, really good at dealing with stuff like this 6-pounder, and like the autocar. There's not really anything they can do to stop him. You know, with that 12 armor especially as well in the 1200 meter range, kind of built to deal with these 6-pounders, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, Pak 38 squeezing into the top line, top side tree line. Actually going to be 2 Pak 38s opening up onto the Stuart 5. It only has 6 armor versus the 10 AP of that Pak 38, and the Pak 38's very close, and the Stuart 5 is going to go down. Spitfire's just that little bit too late. The Mosquito can pin down things very quickly with a strafing run, but not going to do too much damage, and neither is the bomb there. The Pak 38's going to survive, and Tarsh just lost another expensive unit.
Yeah, not looking good for Tarsh at all. Kind of the one thing he had going for him in this top side was he did have the armor there where Włochaty only had the AT guns, and yeah, that doesn't really matter though. And he's just walking this Cromwell OP just into this AT gun as well.
Yeah, it's not something you want to do. The good thing about this Cromwell 4 OP is it does have its main gun activated, so that is there and available to fire, but honestly, you don't want to have like a 10 AP gun firing at your 7 front armor. That's never something you really want to do. Stormtroop are going to be jumping out, dropping off their smoke, allows the Sturm Pioneers to get very close, pin down and surrender the motorized rifles, so a lot of ground there made for Włochaty, and he's now pushing towards a 65%, which is going to be a +3, even if this 232 goes down, because that infantry is making so much ground.
Again, I think the story of this game is just how well Włochaty sort of preserved a lot of his units. And I feel like Tarsh has just been maybe, I don't know what the word would be, I wouldn't say overconfident perhaps, but maybe a little bit careless with the way that he moved his armoured units earlier in the game. And, you know, Steel Division is a game of phases, and if you sort of mess up in phase A, you know, depending on what deck you've got, it can be very difficult to come back, and I think he's really feeling it now.
Yeah, I think the worst part is just the amount of losses that came in during phase B now as well. Because phase B is like really where the 7th Armoured can really pop off and like bring in like a lot of really strong tanks. But in this case, they've kind of just all suffered, and again in the mid here, Stormtroop just getting the better of an Autocar M3 is not where you want to be. Now these Cromwell 4 OPs, they might, if they land a couple of nice strikes, be able to prevent some of this infantry from getting too far, but now that Włochaty is in this town, it's going to be very, very difficult to get him out of it, especially if Włochaty continues to sort of reinforce himself with more infantry, because these Stormtroop are just a nightmare at this close range for motorized rifles.
They're a nightmare for the transports and for this Cromwell 4 OP as well, because they've got the AT. That being said, this one might go down to the motorized rifles at close range. You did say earlier as well, yeah, the motorized rifles, not the same quality as the Stormtroop, but they still have quite a lot of HE for what they are.
Yeah, the strength of the squad allows them to do enough damage in time to often, I guess, trade roughly evenly, as you can see is happening right now, but Stormtroop with the better HE is going to come out on top, and now with the Stug 4s also coming in to reinforce, also the 232s following those, again things just get really, really difficult here, regardless of the amount of Stormtroop that die at this point. Like, there is a lot of ground in favour of Włochaty, and unless like a Firefly can come in and just clean up all of these vehicles on its own, whilst maintaining infantry availability across the entirety of the map, there's not much of a comeback here for Tarsh at this point. The Firefly has just arrived though, as I say that, but I'm not entirely sure he's got enough time for that to have the desired effect. Włochaty currently going to win in 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
Not just that though as well, but because Włochaty's got so far into this town, the Firefly loses some of its sort of punch really. If Tarsh should have kept Włochaty out of the town, he might have had the ability to start, you know, pushing over these more open fields, but your Firefly won't kind of save you from infantry in a town. As I say that, it does look like Włochaty's kind of not really rushed to reinforce that as quickly as I would have expected.
There is stuff on the way now. 2 more units of Sturm Pioneers and the Stormtroop. 231 and a 232 also on the way there, but that Cromwell 4 is causing a little bit of an issue. The Firefly, I think, still can find plenty of kills, but it's really going to depend on infantry sort of supporting it, and currently there isn't any more infantry supporting it at the moment. Spitfire Mark 9 is going to be looking for the bombing strike onto this infantry, and maybe he can stop Włochaty from getting into the town even more so, but he is playing against the clock here, and Włochaty's still pushing the points quite aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd like to see as well is I don't know if many people do take this, but when I play a lot of the British decks, I like to take the little dingo car, you know, the 30-point command car. For moments like this, you can just have it follow your Firefly around. Now, obviously, ideally, you'd probably want something like the Commander Cromwell, but I think you only get 2 cards, or 1 card of 2.
Or
so it might run out of that.
Ongoing engagement between the Firefly and the Stug, but in the meantime, the Starship has managed to run up and gets the Panzerfaust onto the Firefly.
It's all over. It's all over now.
That is just...
I'm sorry, Tarsh.
Absolutely devastating. Also, a Panzerschreck finds a kill onto the Cromwell 4 in a town. The 2-3-2 comes around the corner and kills the Cromwell 4 on the top side. All of the armor just disintegrated. 2 Cromwell 4 OPs. The Firefly in like just a matter of seconds. That was just the most insane set of kills there, and Tarsh is gonna surrender. And after 22 minutes and 44 seconds, Włochaty is victorious. What do you have to say about that, Fel?
You know, when you just talked about the infantry before, I could just foresee something like this happening to that poor Firefly. That 2-star Firefly is one of the best tanks in the game for the price. It's fantastic, but when it gets, you know, you should never ever lose one of those to a Stoss troop with the Panzerfaust. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, 20-point unit coming in and taking out 210-point tank. It's just, it's not good. But anyway, yeah, congratulations to Włochaty to win that one, and commiserations to Tarsh. Is going to be knocked down to the lower brackets, so still has a chance to sort of come back in the tournament. But Włochaty there really showing us how it's done with 2,225 kills, 1,110 losses, trading 2 for 1 pretty much, and just a very, very good display of infantry AT use. Like, the amount of infantry that he deployed at the start really caught me off guard, like the Panzerschrecks and the Stoss troop, and maybe that's why Tarsh fell prey to it so much. He just didn't expect to have that much infantry AT to deal with, because when I look at the 17th SS, I see Panzergrenadiers that don't have Panzerfausts, and that's something you can often exploit. But in this case, having both the Stoss troop and the Panzerschreck sort of layered infantry AT, it's incredibly obnoxious to deal with.
No, you're absolutely right. Kind of a bit of an orthodox setup, I think, from Włochaty, but you know, when you're a player as talented as he is, you can definitely make kind of these more unorthodox things work. And Tarsh, I do feel he dropped the ball on the micro. I do feel that, you know, you shouldn't be losing all these fire support units to infantry AT like that. And don't get me wrong, it's easy to do. You know, it's easy to do. The fog of war plays tricks on your mind. The distances you don't really think about. But I feel like in A phase, Tarsh should have had the advantage, and he just got crushed, kind of. I don't want that to sound kind of a bit harsh, but I think it's a fair assessment. So I think for Tarsh, maybe sort of look back at this game, and you know, it wasn't all bad, but I feel like sort of pay attention to where you're placing all of your fire support, and that will save you a lot of these heartaches in the future. But for Włochaty, what a game.
Yeah, really, really good. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.